Welcome to Freeman on Real Estate, the podcast about the hard facts behind what's going on in real estate. Realtor Mike Freeman of Coldwell Banker, who holds an MBA in finance, draws from his financial background and deep network to bring the most value for anyone looking to buy, sell, rent, or invest. Welcome back to Freeman on Real Estate. Mike Freeman, of course, is here. We continue with part 2 of the Nancy Chronicles, right, Mike? We're excited for this. We had a guest last week. She was fantastic. And this time, we're going to introduce her with the proper fanfare. So, Mike, remind people who our guest is.
Sure. So we have Nancy Levine from Mortgage Equity Partners. There we go. I mean, really, the audience wasn't ready, Dave. It's not on you.
I blame myself, but yeah, usually the studio audience is a little bit more happy. Like, come on, guys. Look at that.
Whoa.
All right, calm down, guys. All right. Okay, good.
Okay, so, yeah, Nancy, you did a fantastic job on the last episode. And so what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the process. So I'm going to go back to how you educate people, and it's a first-time homeowner, first-time mortgage application person. But now we're not going to talk about the economy and interest rates because we talked about that. Now it's the process. Somebody comes to you and they say, Nancy, I have no idea how this works. I've heard of like pre-approvals and final mortgage approvals, and how does that all work? I don't know what that is.
Okay, so I'll start off with the differences between like a pre-qualification and pre-approval. Okay. Pre-qualification is basically a conversation telling me what you make, what your debt is. A pre-approval is when they fill out my application, and I will pull credit and see what their credit is. They'll upload bank statements and pay stubs and W-2s, and I can review all that, tax returns if necessary, and I can run it through our desktop underwriting system. So I know I have an approval loan that can move forward to an underwriter.
Okay. And that's very important for people to have. If someone's going to submit an offer with me, that's a prerequisite. You have to have that. And one thing I'll point out about Nancy, one of the reasons why I love working with her, there's so many reasons. But one of them is, if I'm working with somebody and we're looking at a house and say it's a $700,000 house, and Nancy knows because she's run their credit and income, et cetera, that they're approved for that amount. Well, if the offer is going to be for, say, $680, I know I can get a new pre-approval letter from Nancy for $680, and it's going to be like pretty much right away.
Right.
And I know the initial pre-approval will also be very quick. Like if I'm talking to a new home buyer over a weekend and we go to an open house or we have a showing, I could call you at 6:00 p.m. on a Sunday and say, Nancy, this person, I wasn't expecting it. They fell in love with this house. Is there any way we can get a pre-approval for them so I can submit an offer? So talk about...
Yeah, so if you call me at 6:00 on a Sunday evening, I'll talk to the borrower as soon as I can, as soon as they call me, or I'll call them. And then I'll have them fill out an application, and I will work the numbers, have pay stubs, W-2s, like I said previously, and I'll do whatever I can to get that letter to you ASAP.
And you do a great job of that. Like, if it's 6 p.m. on Sunday, as long as the person gets their info to you, I'm going to have it by 8.
Right. And then I'll do a few letters for you as well, because we don't know what they're going to offer. So I'll ask, like, do you want 3 letters to begin with? And I'll make and do as many changes as I need to do for you.
Right. And I've worked with some lenders when my client chooses the lender, which people have the right to work with whoever they want. But if I don't know the lender, sometimes they don't want to issue a new letter when the offer is $25,000 or even $50,000 different. They're like, well, just use the one I issued.
Yeah, no, I like to give the letter to match the offer.
Exactly, and that's what I like, because otherwise it's like you're showing your hand in poker.
That's the exact expression that I tell everybody.
Yeah, if you've approved someone for $750 and the price is $700, the offer is $700, why would you show the seller that they're pre-approved? So the very first thing they do is say, oh, this person can afford more.
Correct.
So you don't want to do that. And so how do people apply? Do they go onto you have your own website that they go to?
I can text them the application.
Yep.
Or I can send them an email, and below my contact information on my email is a green hyperlink that says start an application.
Okay.
And it's very easy. It takes 10 minutes.
Yeah. Okay, great. And they can upload.
And they can upload it securely, all their documents as well.
Okay, great. Okay, so let's suppose somebody goes in, they do that, they get a pre-approval letter, they make an offer, and they don't get it. And let's suppose, because that's typically happening in this market, it takes a while for buyers to get their offer approved, accepted, I should say. And so let's say that you've adjusted your letter 4, 5, 6 times, and finally we get an offer accepted. What happens from there?
So once the offer is accepted and we're moving forward, I submit the loan as a new loan. It goes to the loan opener. They'll order the appraisal, because we have to have an appraisal, and then it will go to my processor. She'll clean up the loan, make it nice for the underwriter, and then we'll get it submitted to the underwriter.
So let's talk about that, because you hit on a couple of things that I think are really important.
Okay.
So the appraiser. Who's the appraiser? Is he like the guy who sits next to you? Who is he?
No, I don't know the appraisers, because I can't be involved with the appraisers.
Does he work for your company?
No, they don't work for the company.
Yeah, so that's really important for people to know. They're independent.
They're independent appraisers.
And no bank will have appraisers who work for them. They're independent, and things are different now than they used to be.
Correct, and it's also random. So a loan comes in, they just throw it out there like randomly to whoever appraiser wants to grab it.
Yeah. I mean, it used to be, like 15 years ago that
you could pick the appraiser.
Approved. Yeah, you pick your appraiser. They're going to approve it for whatever amount you want.
Right.
And it's not even going to be based on what you can really afford, what you can really, your credit, your income, et cetera. It wasn't even based on that. But then we went through a whole economic collapse and calamity there.
Right.
So
things changed.
Yeah, rules have gotten so much more difficult. So the underwriter you mentioned, the processor who gets the loan ready for the underwriter. Mm-hmm. So you can explain this better than me, but you're on two different sides of the company. It's not like this underwriter sits right next to you and you coordinate. How does that all work?
The underwriters are either they're working remotely or in their corporate office.
Right.
But I don't really deal with the underwriter unless I have a problem, because what the loan gets submitted gets approved, and I see what the underwriter needs, and then I go back to the customer and ask for the documents that they requested.
There's basically like a Chinese wall between the two of you, right?
If I needed to speak to them, I could speak to them.
Right, you can speak to them, but it's not. But you can't influence their process.
No. They follow the guidelines.
And that's really important for someone to understand who's new to this, because Nancy pre-approves you, but an underwriter has to give a final approval.
Correct.
And as a realtor, what I'm ultimately looking for after an offer is accepted, just before closing, there's a final mortgage commitment. And we put that in the offer. We put a date. It's usually a couple of weeks before closing that there's a final mortgage commitment.
Correct.
So that's the piece where the underwriter, it's up to them. It's not up to you. And sometimes you want them to maybe get it done a little quicker, but you can't really do much about that.
I try to get everything done so that I have a clear to close at the financing date, because just to make it easier.
But you don't determine it, right? You have other factors. You have the appraiser, you have the underwriter, and you hope that they move things along.
Right, and also making sure that I have a complete loan, that I've given everything that they needed to make it easier, because the more that you give, the easier it is for them to underwrite and get the loan back up.
Yeah. But this is definitely important for people to know, because I think 15 years ago I wasn't in this business, but the fact that the two sides of a mortgage company are separate.
Yeah, operations and sales.
Yeah, I mean, that wasn't really like that before. I mean, there might have been different departments, but there's more, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but there's more of a separation, it's more of a Chinese wall between the two of you than there used to be in the old days.
It seems the same after like 30 years. Like, it seems the same to me.
Okay.
I don't think it's that much different.
Okay.
Because you can, if I have a question, I'm not sure about one of the conditions they're asking, I can pick the phone up and they've answered the phone and will explain it to me.
Right. But you can't really...
I can't influence them.
You can't. That's the thing. You can't influence it. And I think in the old days, you probably could a little bit.
But you know what it is? Nowadays, what we do is we run it through a desktop underwriting system, and they follow the desktop underwriting system results.
And that didn't used to be the case.
We always had that, but every company's different. But they really stick to the findings that we receive.
Yep, that's I think one of the big changes. There's just so many more rules and regulations, and you can just have more confidence that banks are doing things the right way. And what we find, what I find is that sometimes the rules that banks set just seem so, I don't know if arbitrary is not really the right word, but sometimes they're
strict.
Yeah, they're very strict. And sometimes you say, why do they want that?
Right. You try to think common sense.
Yeah. Like even something like bank statements, right? Like the bank is going to want all the blank pages.
Correct.
Okay, so that sounds kind of ridiculous.
It sounds ridiculous, but it's the rule. Like if there's 10 pages, they want all 10 pages regardless of it being blank.
Pages 9 and 10 might be blank, but they need to see it. Yeah.
Because they'll be numbered 9 and 10. So.
And the other thing that's become strict is if you have an amount, like let's just say that my father gave me a gift of $20,000. Like talk about how banks what they want to see when money gets transferred into your account. How strict banks have become.
Yep. So if somebody's receiving a gift, depending on the type of loan, on a conventional loan, I just need a copy of the gift letter and a canceled check.
Right.
For an FHA loan, I need the gift letter, a canceled check, and the donor's ability to give that gift.
Yeah, it's very strict. And if there's not a gift, if you see
large deposits.
If you see a large deposit, then what do?
You have to explain what the large deposits are.
Yeah, the person has to explain it, and you often and then also along with that, when the buyer gives their escrow deposit, so buyers give. In Massachusetts, it's not like this in other states, but in Massachusetts, we have two contracts. We have the offer to purchase, and then we have the purchase and sale. And so what I find is that and you have two deposits, usually it's $1,000 when you make the offer, and then approximately 5% minus that $1,000 when you sign the purchase and sale. And so what do you find that banks are doing now on those regarding those deposits that you didn't used to see? Because I have some thoughts on that.
Well, usually I get a copy of the check, but lately I see people they do the wire, so they'll get me the wire information, then I have to get the bank statement to show the money leaving the account.
Yeah.
I have to match it.
Exactly. You get to see the money going out of the account, what account it's coming from, what account it's going to. I mean, it's so strict that they want to see all the details. And sometimes it feels like overkill.
It does, but it's just the nature.
That's the nature of the beast these days.
Right.
Yeah.
You just set the expectations up front.
And I've seen that the larger banks, like the Bank of Americas and the Chases and banks like that, are even more strict. Like I would rather work with you and a company like yours because, I don't know, with the large companies, people are just a number. And so the bank sets their rules, and those are the rules. But, I mean, describe a little bit about how your company works with clients and how you work with clients in that regard.
How I work is like I set the expectations up front, and I tell them exactly what we're going to need, and I explain to them why, because some people don't know. They don't understand. So I'll go through it all with them. And I'll explain that these are the things that we have to get. It's like federally regulated.
Right.
And this is what we have to do. And then for these large deposits, they just have to make sure there's no money laundering.
Right.
You have to just show everything. You're buying a house, basically you have to show everything.
Right. Because that's the thing. If there's a large deposit, banks want to make sure there's no money laundering, there's no
illegal,
nothing illegal, terrorism. Like they look for all those things.
They look for all those things. But most people don't have a problem with it. They get what we need.
Right.
And when you explain why we need it, then they're more apt to give it to you rather than fight you on it.
Right. I mean, there's a lot. You tell them up front.
Right.
And there's a lot. It didn't.
There's a lot. It's changed since like the meltdown of the mortgage industry. Right. It's like it's like when you go on a diet and you become really strict.
Right.
And that's how we still are.
Yeah. And so if you have somebody that the last time they bought a house and got a mortgage was 20 years ago, things are going to be very different for that person,
they're not
right?
going to recognize it, no.
Yeah.
Because 20 years ago, you might have given a pay stub and a bank statement and call it a day.
So do you ever get resistance from people saying, why are you asking me for this? I didn't have to do this last time.
Yep, sometimes. But you just explain it to them and explain that you're borrowing $500,000.
Right.
This is what...
It's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money, and if you want to get that money, I don't know how else to get it. This is what you have to do.
Right.
I always try to be nice and kind and just try to explain everything. And if they explain it, they understand it, then you're not going to fight you.
Yeah, the education is a really big piece, and I think that's one of the reasons that you and I work well together, because it's really important to both of us that we're educating our clients and we're not just getting them through the process.
Right.
So, okay, I sort of just answered one question. I sort of just answered the question I was about to ask.
I thought of something else too that I wanted to tell you. So with the people that are looking for a property, we can also do a pre-approval and have the underwriter review that file while they don't have a property. So then when they do find a property, it's much easier because everything's already been reviewed.
Oh, I'm glad you thought of that. So
because a lot of people were doing that now, where it's called a TBD, to be determined, and we never did that before. But now, like nowadays, what we can do is with a TBD, I can send it to underwriting. So then when they approve the loan, the buyer feels so much better as they're shopping for a house because they know that the underwriter has already reviewed all their paperwork.
It makes a big difference. So people should really think about that while you're in that, I mentioned earlier that in this market, it takes a really long time sometimes to find a house. But once you get pre-approved and then Nancy can get it through underwriting, and you're much further, all that's left is the appraisal.
Appraisal and title.
Because you're right, those are two things that are going to be distinct to a certain house, but everything else you can do. And so as a listing agent, I can tell you this, that if I'm the listing agent, so I'm not working with the mortgage person, I'm not the buyer's agent, I'm going to feel so much better about an offer that somebody has made when there's a mortgage contingency if I know that it's been through underwriting. And I'm going to have, as a listing agent, you need to make a call to the loan officer. But that's great if you can see that. And so I'm glad that you do it.
Right. Yeah.
So
it helps. It helps
definitely.
you too. It makes you happy, right? Because now you know that they've already been approved.
It helps me on both sides. As the buyer, I can talk about how much stronger my client's offer is.
Correct.
And as a buyer's agent, as a seller's agent, I can tell my seller that they are receiving a much stronger offer. If they're comparing offers, I can say, okay, well, this one has been is much further along in the process because they've already been through underwriting, and it makes a difference. You never know what's going to happen.
No, you don't.
People lose jobs. Things happen in life.
Right. Things happen in life, and you just don't know. Yeah. You just do the best you can do, follow the rules.
Yeah. We always use the phrase, life happens, and people think that the things that can come up, they always think, well, that's not going to happen to me.
Right.
But it can happen to anybody.
It can happen to anybody.
Yeah. So, okay. Is there anything else as we wrap up the second episode that we haven't covered that you want the audience to know about you or your company?
Sure. Like, I'm actually licensed in 4 states.
You are?
Yes.
Which 4?
Massachusetts, obviously, Rhode Island, New Hampshire, and Maine. I have a lot of customers that buy second homes in Maine and New Hampshire, and some people that can't afford Massachusetts look in Rhode Island.
Okay. That's really good to know. I'm only licensed in Massachusetts.
Okay.
Some people in my office are licensed in Rhode Island. I've thought about, and I may end up doing that. But no, that's great to know because I've had customers that have bought vacation homes on like Winnipesaukee, so I know that I can go to you for that too. Right. Great.
I'd love to help.
Okay, well, thank you so much. You are good at helping. Thank you so much, Nancy. That was great.
You're
and
awesome
thank you. I'm going to turn it back to Dave.
All right. Let's find out more about our guest, more about Nancy, and
more about Mike.
More about Mike.
More about Mike.
Well, in More About Mike, we learned not just about Mike, but about our guests as well. We learned a little bit about Nancy in the last episode, but we have a brand new question today. I'm going to spin the wheel and see what happens. Come on, no whammies. No whammies. Okay, stop. All right, the question for today is, what song would you like to play if you could have that song playing every time you walked into a room? So it's another way of saying, I guess, a theme song or something that epitomizes what you're about, or it could be your favorite song. Okay, I've been stalling to give you guys time to think about it. And Mike, do you want to go first or defer to Nancy on this one?
Should I go first on this one, Nancy?
Yeah, you can go first.
Okay, so for me, I kind of think of it as like a walk-up song in baseball.
Yeah.
I would want a song that gets me like really excited and really pumped. Mm-hmm. So for me, it's Enter Sandman by Metallica.
No, but you're stealing Mariano Rivera's.
I know, and he was a Yankee, but what? I love that song before he did.
Yeah.
I'm older than him.
I got to say, that is one of my favorite tunes. I don't think there's a better pump-up song.
No.
I don't even think of Mariano Rivera when I hear this. I just think of how great a song it is.
Yeah.
And it's like, it kind of leads you along and like something's happening here, and then that starts to kick in.
Yeah.
And it's almost like you can hear fans just cheering. Oh. And they're all saying, Mike, 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 Mike.
I'm getting pumped up just thinking about it. Yeah. But
that's a good one.
It is. It's phenomenal. And my cousin Tony, who's 13, I coach him in baseball. That was his walk-up song.
Oh, yeah.
They actually played walk-up songs in Sharon Little League. So they didn't do this when you and I coached, Dave, or when you were a kid. But, yeah, our team did walk-up songs, and that was his.
See, that's a great idea because in Little League, it's kind of all about putting on the uniform and being on a team and then maybe getting 1 or 2 hits during the year. But and I mean, especially when 4th grade, 5th grade or whatever, there aren't a lot of times where they actually hit the ball, field the ball, pick up the ball, throw it to another player who then catches it and steps on the base. It's hard for those kids. But walk-up songs, you're never too young for a walk-up song. I love it.
And it just gets the kid going. It gets the crowd going. And it's a fun thing. And at that age, you got to remember it's all about fun.
Exactly.
And if you can add to kids' fun with something like that, I thought it wasn't my idea, but whoever did it was a great idea.
It's like, how was the game, Johnny? It was great. My walk-up song kicked ass. And then we got ice cream after the game. Right. That's all they care about.
That's all.
Yep. All right, Nancy, it is your turn.
Well, music is super important to me. I love music. I recently had a health issue, and when I was going through that health issue, the song that I listened to every morning, I'm embarrassed to say this, is Barry Manilow. It's a miracle.
There's no reason you should be embarrassed by that.
It shows my age.
First of all, I dig Barry Manilow.
But It's a Miracle is great. Every morning I listen to it, and it helped.
Have you ever? This is one of his more uplifting songs.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I think people might be happy you didn't pick Mandy because that would bring you down. It also would be It's a Miracle. Have you ever seen Barry Manilow in concert?
No.
You, Dave?
I have.
Oh. Yeah.
Yes, at what used to be called Harbor Lights, and now I'm not even sure what it's called. Something Bank Pavilion there, down by the water.
Yeah.
And it was great. It was a ton of fun. He played Copacabana. Everybody danced. And then towards the end of the show, he played a little bit more of Copacabana. We were like, what's going on? Yeah, he kind of a reprise. Great choice. Great choice. And uplifting. Absolutely.
And if you think about it, Dave, if you made that your walk-up song, right? Like, let's say there's a kid, to what you were saying, Dave. Let's say there's a kid who hasn't gotten a hit all year.
Yes.
And he's been playing It's a Miracle all year. In the last game, he gets a hit.
Yeah.
Right.
People are going to go nuts.
Yeah.
I agree. My walk-up song would be Ballroom Blitz by Sweet. You remember this one?
Yeah. Great song.
It was one of the first 45s I ever owned.
That's hysterical.
It's really retro glam rock, but something about this gets me fired up.
Yeah.
All right, fellas.
It's a good song.
Let's go.
Yeah. I'm going to get an extra base hit. I'm going to run around
Absolutely.
this week. All right. Well, terrific show as usual. Nancy, once again, I know you did it last episode, but if you wouldn't mind reminding our listeners how they get in touch with you.
Sure. My cell phone is 781-608-7220. My email, nlevine@meploans.com.
And Mike, same drill, please.
Yeah, so first of all, I'd like to thank Nancy for being a phenomenal guest, and I really encourage my listeners to talk to Nancy, work with Nancy. We've done many deals together, and she's great at educating people and making it a smooth process, or at least as smooth as it can be, and so I really encourage people to work with her. So
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. My info is my cell, 617-759-1513. My email, mike.freeman@nemoves.com, and check out my website, mikefreemanhomes.com.
If you're watching on YouTube, you already knew that because it appears right behind Mike on the monitor behind him. If you're not, then you should know that there's a YouTube version of this show you can please check out. And if not, please do follow the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you find your pods. Can't wait for the next episode. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. And thank you for listening to Freeman on Real Estate.